Oh boy, do I have a bridge to sell you guys. Welcome to Introduction to Arcade Rhythm Games by me. So a bunch of stuff just to get out of the way. Random news disclaimers. One, this is my first time ever paneling. Please be nice. Secondly, this is not a fully comprehensive guide to every rhythm game ever made. I tried to be somewhat informative, but you have to understand that like this thing went for like 6 different revisions and about 3 hours of editing last night, and about 30 minutes before this panel. So I tried. If you have questions, there will be a question section later. Trust me, you will have time. And to save a little bit more time, I'm going to assume you already know the basic concept of a rhythm game. So you know, like, you guys know, like, hit button to, like, get points. Yeah? Okay, cool. So, all right, you're already, like, 50% of the way there. So what actually is an arcade rhythm game? An arcade rhythm game refers to a rhythm game that primarily is played on an arcade cabinet or general non-standard hardware. So if you want to get, like, so if you've ever been to a Round 1, we have one up in Potomac Mills if you're a Virginia resident. You might notice at like the corner they have all those, really loud games that are playing really obnoxious music. This is what I'm talking about. They usually feature very unique mechanics that you're not going to see in your average PC or console rhythm game. Some games such as, having to do irregular movements or having to play in a very specific way. But why should you actually care? There's 2 big reasons. Firstly, it requires you to go outside and interact with people, since there's no reasonable way to play these games at home, which, always good. It's nice to go on a little outing. And secondly, you actually get free games at MAGFest. If you go downstairs, all the way downstairs and like somewhere over there is a giant arcade, and guess what? All those games, they're free. So by not taking advantage of those, you're just wasting money. So what do you need to get started? First things first, the short answer is just nothing. At MAGFest, all games are free play. At non-MAGFest arcades, there will be you'll generally pay about $1 worth for free songs. This varies from game to game. I want to say it's Ongeki takes like $1 every 2 songs because Sega's greedy. Yeah, no one likes Sega. But the short answer is you need nothing. Long answer, we'll talk about it later. But there's a lot of like miscellaneous stuff. But to get started, we do not need anything. You just go up to your cabinet and you can start playing. Very, very simple as. But how do you actually play? How do I get started? So every rhythm game's different, obviously, because they're different video games. But the general concept is the same. You can just walk down to an arcade, pick a game, and try to play it. Generally speaking, starting out, there will be I could not get photos of this, unfortunately, because of lack of time, and this, surprisingly, there's not a lot of very good like images that actually describe what I'm talking about. But basically, a lot of rhythm games, you go up to them. Some of them, you got to put in a coin, you got to swipe your card, whatever your arcade does. And then and then they'll have a little selection box. They'll say like, oh, do you want to start playing as a guest or sign in? We'll talk about signing in later. That's a whole rabbit hole on its own. And then sometimes they'll ask for game mode. Just hit the one that says standard or normal. Don't worry about the other ones. Those ones are for insane people. Notably like me. Oh, damn, it's my guy. And yeah, just try to play. Try to have some fun. It doesn't matter if you're good at it, because all that matters is that you're having fun. If you're having fun, then you are winning. That's something a lot of people just don't understand about rhythm games. You should play them for fun, not because of some kind of moral obligation or some kind of need. You should do it because you enjoy it. And as one piece of advice I will give is, if it's not your cup of tea, you don't have to play it. It's not the end of the world. And it's better that you do something you enjoy than something you don't. So one question I get way too often is, what game to play? And I don't blame the people asking this because there's way too many to pick from. Thankfully, we can narrow this down by a lot. So I made a giant list. How much favoritism is on this list? We're going to find out. But I did try to do a few things. One, I tried to pick out games that are relatively accessible to people who are new to the arcade rhythm game scene. So these are games that should be, relatively easy mechanically. They should be relatively lenient, and most importantly, I tried to pick games that are cheap. So I believe every game on this list does the general $1 per free songs rule outside of MAGFest. Speaking of which, criteria number 2: all games have to be at MAGFest. So if it's on this list, it's at MAGFest, including special mentions or honorable mentions list. So if something on here catches your eye, go down to the arcade, give it a shot. All games are free. They're all maintained by they're all donated by some incredibly generous people. They're dragging their $5,000 tower of plastic out for us. So better use it. A very important note, and this is true of every rhythm game. Most rhythm games are not translated into English. We'll talk. I originally had an entire section here talking about the origin of rhythm games, which we might get into if there's extra time because I did not budget this time-wise very well. But not every game here has a complete English translation. So occasionally you may get jump scared by some kanji. Do not be afraid. The translator just forgot. Or it's a graphic because no one wants to translate graphics. Like, Jesus Christ. You guys should try it sometime. It's not fun. But don't be scared. Most of the times it's pretty self-explanatory. Usually you'll see it on graphics. Basically all text is translated though. So the first game I always recommend to people is Tune of Them. It's one of the easiest arcade rhythm games to understand. It is a game. So imagine a piano. Now put it on a lot of steroids. Basically, simply put, you need to put it. There are notes flying down at you. The difference with Tune of Them is you actually got to move your arms a lot. There are air notes. There's slides. There's a lot of different note types, and they make use of that. Make use of the controls very well. Very low skill floor, very high skill ceiling. It's a game that is consistently recommended to just about everyone, and it's probably one of the best Sega rhythm games ever made, period. I've sunk in, I won't say $500 plus into this game at this point, over the course of several years. Amazing game. In terms of optional accessories you can get for this game, you can look and get some cotton gloves. These are basically the reason for this is Tune of Them cabinets you need to slide around the touch controller a lot. And what ends up happening over the course of, dozens of people coming in and out every day playing the cabinet, the touchpad gets a little bit grimy. And the problem with this is it makes it harder to slide. So what people figured out is cotton gloves specifically for physics reasons, since that we don't need to go into, they slide really well across plastic. So if you find yourself having trouble with certain patterns, what a lot of people will do is they will try gloves. Now, I will state, gloves are very optional. It's very much a preference thing. You should not, if you don't like the feeling of gloves, you don't have to use them, simple as. But if you do, then they can be a great accessory, and they can make the game easier. The other game in the same vein as Tune of Them is Waka. This game actually shut down like 2 or 3 years ago, but believe it or not, people have been keeping this game alive on life support for the better part of since it shut down, basically. It's been fully translated into English, I believe, even officially. I know they used to have cabinets at round 1 before the game shut down. And you can think of it as Tunivum, but a little bit easier, while also being a bit more physically demanding. The gimmick of Waka, if you can't already tell, giant circle. That came off way wilder than I needed it to be. But basically, it's like Tunivum, but circular. And because that ends up being a little bit more physically demanding. But it also has a lot of really fun patterns to hit. You can do a lot of incredibly interesting stuff with it. And in general, it's a pretty fun game. It's also another game you might want gloves for. Same situation, grind builds up, good way to bypass that is gloves. Although additionally, gloves can also cushion you a little bit because you will be flinging your hand up and down a lot. It happens a lot in these games. You're going to want to get used to it. So the next game, we're going to get into Konami. Y'all know Konami? Here's a fun fact. Let's go into a little rhythm game history for you here. Konami is considered by many to be the pioneer, quote-unquote, of rhythm games. And while this is a gross oversimplification, their presence within arcades is undeniable. They have made probably, I believe, about like a dozen or so rhythm games that people know and care about, and then another bunch that they don't. They have an entire separate company actually. It's called Mani or Bimani. Very hard to pronounce. As with everything Konami related. But their current big golden cow, Sound Voltex, and this has been a series running for about a decade at this point, probably longer. Actually, I need to look that up, but it's at least a decade. It's a pretty easy game to understand. The gimmick with Sound Voltex is it has knobs. So there's little twisty bits. Yeah, he gets it. Yeah, so there's 2 knobs on either side, and you have to move lasers, or I guess more accurately, catch lasers according to the beat of the music. And this gets really gimmicky at times. I would have put a video here, but all my video stuff broke. So you guys got to go play and find out for yourself. It's your homework. Yeah. There's probably there's 10-ish Sound Voltexes at the arcade. Trust me, you're not going to have any trouble getting a spot on one. With Sound Voltex specifically, one recommendation I will make, you don't need gloves for this one, but you'll notice there's 2 different types of cabinets in the arcade. There's ones without the bottom screen and ones with the bottom screen. Camp the ones with the bottom screen. They're significantly better. Yeah, you don't need to understand why, just understand that they're better. Oh, wait, they do? Wait, the old ones don't? Oh, interesting. Well, yeah. So the question was that the old ones was talking about the old ones. So turns out that actually the old cabs don't have card readers built into them, which is something I just found out now. I somehow did not notice that. That's got it. It is what it is. But yeah, the bottom ones are better, and we'll talk about the whole card reading system later. The last game I'm going to talk about is Dance Dance Revolution. This one barely needs an introduction. It's a classic. You hit the arrows with your feet. Pioneered basically every single major rhythm game out there to this day. Please use flat shoes, I beg of you. This is a genuine problem. You will not only hurt yourself, but you'll also break the cabinet. So if any of you are in cosplay with high heels, maybe go play another game. Come back when you have tennis shoes or something. This is also a game that can benefit from having better shoes. Shoe tech for for Dance Dance Revolution is its own field. It's its own entire genre. There is a ton of miscellaneous things that you can do. Some people even use baby powder on cabinets, like if their operators allow it. I don't play Dance Dance Revolution, so no comment on how that one works, but it does work apparently.
It works the same way gymnastics does in allowing friction.
Okay, so according to him, it decreases friction. So, interesting idea. Some extra honorable mentions. These are games that I like and wanted to put in here, but it can be a little bit daunting. Ongeki and Mai both are Sega's other two big games from their rhythm game selection. Both are great and arguably pretty beginner friendly. The problem with both of them is they are insanely rare compared to Tunivum. Tunivum has about 80 cabinets in the US, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we'll get to that. Mai has like 0 public cabinets in the US.
Round one has PX cabinets now.
Wait, what?
They got them.
Okay, so change of plans. Mai is actually back in. Dude, I disappeared like to Florida for like 2 months. How did I miss all this? Everything. What they were mentioning. So it turns out Mai, I somehow missed this entirely when making this presentation, which is insane. Mai doesn't have 0 cabinets in the U.S. anymore. Woo. Yeah. You guys do not understand how rare those things were for like several years. But anyways, they are now at round ones. So round one is I should probably explain round one now. So since we've mentioned it so much, so round one is believe it or not, a bowling alley chain. So, and you know what they have at a bowling alley chain? A lot of rhythm games, like a comedic amount, including exclusives that are round one only. None of those are on this list because all of them suck, but they do exist, and sometimes aren't shut down. But yeah, we do have Mai now. Ongeki, on the other hand, is like 100% dead. There's like 7 cabs in the U.S. Nearest one, the MAGFest, is about 6 hours. Yeah. So yeah, have fun with that one. There are cabinets at MAGFest if you want to try it, but I wouldn't get too attached. It is a fun game, though, if you do want to try it out. Beatmania 2DX, extremely common, which is the main reason it made it on this list. But it has probably the steepest learning curve of any rhythm game, despite being one of the more simpler ones mechanically. It's what's called a 7-key rhythm game, meaning there are 7 buttons you have to press. And then there's also a scratch lane. So you're basically DJing. If any of you are DJs, you may be interested in that one. But if you're not, then you'll probably suffer. I would recommend sticking to something a little bit with a less steep learning curve when you're starting out. But if you do like a good challenge and you do want to play something that is very much a classic within the rhythm game sphere, Beatmania 2DX, phenomenal game if you can get over the learning curve. They have these at round one, and we have a couple here, and they're generally very common. You can find them out in the wild all the time. So this guy is asking if there's console ports. Some of them, there are console ports. I'm not really discussing those mainly because it's kind of out of the scope. But it is one of the games you can play at home relatively easily due to the pretty low barrier of entry in terms of controllers. We sadly don't have an at-home section for legal reasons, and also because the cab costs like $5,000. I've talked with the importer guys; they're in shambles. Yeah, you should see some of their warehouses; it's incredible. But last honorable recommendation is Juby. It's an all-time favorite of mine, but it's also like 100% dead and pretty uncommon. But if you do see one, please play it. We love Juby. We Juby players need more fresh blood. Please, I beg of you. Yeah, someone gets it. I heard someone say they love Juby in the crowd. Okay. So it's finally time to talk about the most interesting thing in rhythm games, the e-amusement card. So this is a system that was originally made by Konami that is mainly for their rhythm games, but it has become the primary way to save your game across arcade cabinets, really across all arcade cabinets, especially if you're in the US. These are the only way to save your data. So you get a cool score, or you can swipe one of these, or well, you swipe before. So how it works is you take a card, and then before you put in your money, or after you put in your money, but before you actually start the game, you tap this on a little special spot. It'll say, Konami e-amusement, whatever, on the cabinet. You tap it, and it'll sign you in. You can pick up one of these at round ones across the U.S. or in online shops. There's a bunch of different types of e-amusement cards, like different graphics on them. There is no competitive advantage based on e-amusement cards. There's no songs that are locked behind an e-amusement card. So please do not shill out like $500 on some really rare event card thinking it'll make you better at the game. It will not. Only spend money on exclusive e-amuses if you like the art. That being said, if you don't want to drive out like the 50 minutes to an hour it is to make it to a round one from here, I'm giving away 5 of these courtesy of my friend at the end of this presentation. So stick around to the end of that, and who knows, you might be able to win one of these. And the arcades downstairs do support these, so just saying, might be worth hanging around. So now we're just going to get into a bunch of frequently asked questions. These are in no particular order. So first question, where do you find arcades? So there is a website. It's called zenithivanisher.com with dashes in between the I. Yeah. It is the most comprehensive database it's probably the most comprehensive arcade database, period. But it also has a very nice added bonus of having a great way to filter arcades. Sadly, the resolution on the image is destroyed because this thing forced 4x3 for some reason. Why that happened, we don't know. We tried to fix it, we couldn't. But basically, you'll type in where you live into the box, you'll hit the game, there'll be a little game section, you can select your game, and then you hit the search button, and it does the work for you. It can be out of date at times because this is community run, but I find it to be very accurate 95% of the time. And if it is out of date, you can always go fix it yourself. They do take user submissions. I've submitted stuff there, and you should too. You can also just ask around. Some people do private rhythm game hostings. If you got friends in high places, you never know. Someone might have a basement full of cabinets. I've been to exactly one of those parties, and it is great. Second question I get a lot is why is my save data different between arcades? So the answer to that is relatively simple, but also complicated at the same time. The simple answer is independent arcades are forced to use private servers in order to store their data. There is nothing that can be done about this. Please do not pester arcade operators about this. They get it enough. Sega and Konami just refuse to sell cabinets to the US the normal way. Cabinet importing can be its own entire panel. Like that's how in-depth this goes. But simply put, most cabinets that you see in independent arcades are going to be effectively replace older cabinets that got replaced at Japanese arcades. And there's 3 companies that go around and they buy up those cabinets and they ship them to the US. And those cabinets, those are obviously used. They don't used. Konami and Sega don't care about them. So people stepped in. They had to make their own solutions. Sadly, there is no way to transfer save data between the public and private servers. So just keep that in mind. Round 1 is, I believe, the main place in the US that has the online main servers for rhythm games in general. Did you?
I feel like it's important to mention that Konami and Sega have their separate servers, and if
Yeah.
you are in the US for Mac, usually private server price is Flower for Konami or Eagle.
Okay, wait. Okay, we probably should have mentioned like actual names.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, this is streamed.
Okay,
This is streamed.
There's like one main Konami server here in the US that's private, and then two main Sega servers. So if I honestly don't know, for Sega, I don't know who's like cabinets run with, but basically
yeah.
your data will not save. Basically, all servers have a different profile on them. So
Okay, yeah. So the clarification they were very generously making is this is mainly a U.S. thing. Sega and Konami servers are normally separate. Within the context of the U.S. and in the context of like anything you guys are going to be doing generally, it's going to look like one server, but technically speaking, it is multiple things patched together, very, very hacked together. Can I play these games at home? I mean, if you have money. Short answer is no. Again, cabinet importing. Very interesting topic, not for today. Short answer, if you got like 5 to 15 grand to drop on something that won't ship for maybe, I want to say like 6 months at the earliest. You might be waiting years in some cases for some games. Yeah, you want to buy my DX at home, you're looking at like 20, I think. The prices may have dropped a little bit now that they're at round ones, but it's pretty bad. It is not 10K. It is 100% not 10K anymore. I wish they were 10K.
I think last I heard it was 13.5K.
Okay. So 13.5K seems to be the going rate. If any of you are that rich, my Cash App is Katie Meow. Please give me money. I got college to pay for. What are the best ways to improve? Short answer is no correct answer. Long answer varies very much on a game-to-game basis. But the general advice is, 1, make sure you're using actual settings. So the big thing a lot of people get scared about is something called a scroll speed. So you know how the notes move really slowly down a lot of the time? That's bad. And it's actually like psychologically speaking, your brain will like try and follow the note all the way down. What you really want is to make the notes go really fast so you see them at one point, and then eventually over time you'll grow to learn that you see the thing at the top and you know, okay, it'll hit it at this point and I should just keep looking at this general area. And it'll make reading the play field significantly easier. This is how a lot of this is done. You should challenge yourself to play harder songs. You should not go too difficult, but it's important to play, if you're used to playing level 10s in some rhythm game, you should try maybe a 10.5 or 11 or whatever the next step up would be. Or maybe play on a stricter timing if your game provides that. And make sure to, and this is a very underrated piece of advice I see a lot of people miss, make sure to actually take care of yourself, both physically and mentally. I see a lot of people, they get really burned, they make the hour-long trek to their nearest arcade, every other day. They play for several hours. They spend God knows how much money, and they're just not improving, and they're not having fun. Sometimes you just need to take a break. Sometimes you just got to do something else. It's important that sometimes a break will make you better at the game than playing every day ever will. So make sure that. Now, this is the end of what I plan for, but I'm going to open the floor to questions at this point because we have a ton of extra time. However, before I do that free stuff. Who wants a card? Yeah, a lot of you guys. So I have this QR code below. It takes you to a feedback form, which I doubled up as my, as the giveaway form. So if you fill that out, you can put in your name in the first box, and I will roll it in 20 minutes. If you already have an eAmusement card, please do not join the giveaway. This is for people who don't already have one of these. So if you just dragged your friends here, and you're already too deep in this rabbit hole to quit, Yeah, please do not sign up. But that being said, please fill out my feedback form, as it is greatly appreciated. Again, first panel, I tried, but I do want to run this in the future, and your advice would be extremely appreciated. So yeah, at this point, feel free to fill out the form, ask, and I'm just going to kind of open the floor to questions until I think we got enough people to draw. All right.
I'm a rhythm game novice, but in your opinion, what kills a cabinet in the U.S.? Is it repairs, just dwindling supply over geographic location? Like you mentioned that, was it Jubilee?
Jubeat. Yeah.
Like, is that what killed that game? Was that a cabinet breaks and then it could not be financially repaired easily enough, and then the community?
Yeah. Okay, so this guy asked a really interesting question. He asked, what kills a cabinet? So you're asking two separate questions. You're asking what kills a cabinet and what kills a game. So ultimately, Jubeat's more just dead because it's not that financially profitable for Konami anymore. It does receive updates occasionally, usually to remove songs. But so what kills a game is usually just financial unprofitability. There's a very recent example of this called Chrono Circle, which was probably one of the most disastrous arcade rhythm games ever. It was so bad that they made the cabinets free and it couldn't save the game. Shut down in under, I want to say, 2 years. It's still at the local round one if you want to give it a shot. It's actually pretty fun. Although now we have My, so like, who cares? It was effectively discount My. In terms of what kills a cabinet, generally speaking, public frequent use, you get a lot of people who don't know what they're doing. They bang on the cabinet a little too hard, and then suddenly everything breaks. And repairing these things is actually not as awful as it sounds, because Yahoo Auctions has a suspiciously large parts market. Yeah. I don't know where they're getting those parts, so I'm not going to ask any questions. But basically, you can repair them somewhat easily. I'd argue the harder part is when a cabinet needs to be upgraded for like a new version of the game. So to give an example, going back to my favorite rhythm game, this game, you notice how that cabinet is yellow, all right? The old cabinets were white. This distinction made it so you could not upgrade the game fully. Now, you could technically go to the next version, but you'd be playing at a major disadvantage, as now you have to deal with playing a version of the game made for completely different hardware, and you'd effectively be playing at a huge disadvantage. So while people managed to and there wasn't really a good way to upgrade these cabinets, community members ended up having to come together. They built a very, very robust system that allowed you to upgrade your cabinet. It would upgrade, I believe it updated the monitor, the mountings, and on two other things, I believe related to like the main computer running the thing. But yeah, that hopefully answers the question. Yep.
The difference between the white one and the yellow one, the main difference is it goes from 60 to 120 hertz.
Yeah.
And I think it's also FPS, but it's just the new one's so much better to play on because of the higher hertz.
Yeah.
I know people who have modded their white cabinets to 120 hertz.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So what they were just talking about is the big difference was the 60 to 120 hertz difference. The update of Chin of them I'm talking about was built with 120 hertz in mind. People who don't sit on tech forums all day, all that basically means is that imagine it like how many times the monitor updates per second. So higher hertz means you're seeing like more information effectively. It gives you more times and it also gives you more time to hit the note, but it gives you more info on when to accurately hit the note. Hopefully that makes sense. Scope.
Can I give like live feedback on like the form? Like I didn't know if it would enter me automatically into the drawing. I already have used cards.
Just don't put your name enter your name for the giveaway section. If you didn't do that, you're good.
Okay. If there's still
Sure, why not? So, the main game that really has that is not Sound Voltex. Why am I thinking Sound Voltex? Tunivum is the big one that you'll see people doing some insane conductor level stuff. One pattern that you'll see a lot of is where you have to cross over your hands. So let me put these down for a second. So you'll have a hand like here, and it'll be on a hold note. Then the note will kind of transition to the other side of the playfield, and then there'll be a note on the other end, and occasionally you'll just have to kind of like make a circular motion almost. I don't really know how to do it without actually seeing the notes in front of me. I don't really ghost play a lot, which is kind of like a thing people do to practice, where you try and like mime out the actions like what he's talking about. That's actually a somewhat interesting way to practice. If that is something that is of interest to you, just pull up a YouTube video and, start trying to mime out the actions. It works. I just don't do it because, actually, why don't I do it? I don't have a good reason. I just don't. Alrighty. You.
You mentioned cotton gloves earlier when we were talking about playing the game with gloves. And there are reasons that work in particular. Are there any materials that should really be avoided because they might damage the cabinets or anything?
Not because they'll damage the cabinets. More. Okay, yeah. So the question was, are there any types of gloves that should be avoided because they damage cabinets? To my knowledge, nothing will damage the cabinets, though some just don't have the same level of like friction. So for example, if you have something that's like more thick, like winter gloves, for example, wouldn't work very well. They would, something heavier, you should go lighter. Material itself doesn't matter too much. People just say cotton gloves because they're cheap. You can go to CVS, you can buy a 10-pack for like $5. I have a bunch in my car. Well, more accurately, my dad's car, but they're very cheap to get. I used to play with not winter gloves, but like very like lighter like gloves that were made to like keep you warm, but not like winter warm. Those mostly worked. So you can if you don't want to shell out the $10 and you already have a decent pair of gloves, go give it a shot. You're not going to damage the cabinet just because you're using like something. That being said, try to avoid gloves that have like something like really solid or sharp in them for whatever reason, because then you'll start scraping things, and that's bad. Let's go you and then you. So.
I was just going to add on to the gloves thing. More so you want like breathable gloves.
Yeah.
Nothing that has like rubber tips on the fingertips because you want to actually
Yeah.
your hand instead of getting stuck on the actual machine.
Yeah. So what he said was, basically you want something that's breathable and light. And one good point he did bring up that I forgot to mention: try and avoid something with like rubber tips. Sometimes you'll see gloves that have like little rubber bits, so you can like grip on the things better. You don't want that in this situation. Trust me, the cabinets will register your inputs just fine without them. And your hand will get caught, and that's not what you want. You want to be able to move freely. You.
So, a question about, again, a bit in connection on the console thing. So, I know this is about arcade rhythm games, but in terms of mobile rhythm games, is there anything you would recommend that could be used as a way to practice, or is there two different genres?
Okay, so he's asking if there's any good mobile rhythm games that you can use to practice. I know there's like a My clone out there. I don't know the name off the top of my head. Astro DX. I know you can do that to practice My, and if you want to play like custom songs, you can. I know there's Untitled Sound Voltex clone for playing Sound Voltex. Yeah, there's a mobile build for Osu. There's a couple mobile builds for Osu, but you can actually mod Osu in some interesting ways. You might be able to get something working. At least the modern versions you can. I stopped playing after what? I don't even remember what incident. It's just Osu. Something happened. Archaea, actually, Archaea could be a decent substitute to, I guess, Tunavum maybe, if you want to, like, cope really hard, but, well, not cope. Actually, yeah, Project Sekai. Any Vocaloid fans here? Yeah, you got Project Sekai might. That's a somewhat fun game. If you're into story as well as a decent story from the little. Yeah, Tunavum Light. Okay, you.
Also, if you don't mind, use gloves. I think there are also finger sleeves that are made for touchscreens that might work.
You can try that. I haven't tried that myself. He's talking about like finger sleeves for these. All right, so let me try and I'm gonna start like just trying to do this, but we can keep migrating all these to a wheel of names. But we can keep answering questions if anyone has any. All right, no question. Oh wait, you? I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one more time? Just kind of, so it's a sensor-based thing, so you just kind of like wave your hand up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like the air notes, it'll say on the cabinet how high you need to lift your hand. Just kind of like lift your hand to that point. You.
I feel like it's worth mentioning for Tunatum that air notes are not strict whatsoever. Like even if there's like two or multiple, all the sensors need to do is like catch like a single movement and it will still work. So that's for high level play is that the amount and the placement of the air notes doesn't matter because all it checks for is if there's movement.
Okay. Yeah. So what they just explained was a little bit of like Tunavum tech. So how Tunavum detects its air notes is very, very lenient. So if you just kind of like fling your hand up, you'll probably hit it. That's what myself and most people do. There is some like really high level tech with that if you really get into that, but this is like, that is super out of scope for what we're talking about here. Okay, so if no one has any questions, it's time to roll the wheel. This is everyone that submitted that wants one. So we're doing this 5 times. Okay, VVS logs. You? Okay. No problem. Congratulations. Welcome to the cult. All right, remove. We got 4 more. Kendrick. Yeah, okay. Here you go. No problem. Yep. Welcome to the cult. Damian Bridges. Very nice, very nice. Alrighty, welcome to the cult. We got Mariana Sanabria. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. All right, cool. Here you go. Welcome to the cult. Yeah, this place is effectively a cult. True. All right, last one. And Joe. All right, here you go. No problem. Welcome to the cult. All right, so yeah, that's effectively wraps. I'll be here for a couple more minutes since we technically have this room booked till 30. If you have any questions, thank you everyone for coming out. It means a ton. I know this isn't like the most polished presentation, but the fact you were willing to hear me out to the end means the world.
You always need your first
time. You did great.
Thank you.